I've recently become obsessed with Orion and constellations in general, but particularly Orion. From what I can understand, from what research I've done, most cultures recognize Orion as a constellation. Now, Orion is the Greek name for it, but most cultures recognize that same group of stars as a constellation. Which, I mean, it's very visible, it's very bright, and very visible for several months out of a year, so I can understand that. Most cultures that recognize it as one of the same archetypes. It's usually a hunter or a warrior. Someone told me some of the uh, more northern Norse cultures, I forget which one, so they told me, the unwavering authority of they, that some of them recognize it as a combination of Freya and Frey. So he's seen more as a green man analogy in some cultures. You know, in Greek mythology, he was the great hunter who angered Gaia, and she sent Scorpius after him because Scorpius was the only thing that's armor was heavy enough that Orion couldn't pierce it. That's why Scorpio and Orion, they are constantly at opposite ends of the sky throughout the year because they're chasing each other. And you know that's cool. That's a cool symbology. He can be Wotan, lead the wild hunt, and I get that. But lately, just I've been obsessed with constellations in general. And what I don't get is why do we so fully and blindly accept some other culture's interpretation of constellations? We've all got the same constellations if you live in the same region, the same hemisphere. Why are we using the ancient Greek ones and the ancient Greek names? The American Indians have their own constellations. All the tribes have different ones. The Vedic constellations exist. Every major culture has them. Why are we pinning ourselves down with the archetype of the Greco-Roman? So when I took it a step farther, I figured, why am I pinning myself down with the archetype of anything outside of my own head? And I started exploring that idea. And I've been going out pretty regularly and just sitting and looking at the constellations. I think Orion's two things from what's come to me so far on my journeys. Orion is a shaman. In the traditional role, Orion's got one arm like this, either holding a shield or an animal skin, and one arm up like this, usually holding a club. Some people see it as him drawing a bow. I think it's a shaman drumming. And then in the other interpretation I could do, I see him as someone with his arms up, like it's still a shaman, but with his arms up, dancing almost like a bear does when it stretches. So Orion, to me, and I'm still using the Greek name for it because I don't know any other word to call it, but Orion, to me, the archetype has started to shift from the hunter to that of a bear shaman. So that was kind of exciting because I'm actually feeling that anchor and I'm seeing it as that now before I see it as the other. Then I turned my attention to the dippers. You know, Big Dipper, Pole Star, Little Dipper. And I was watching them last night, especially. And, you know, they rotate counterclockwise around the pole star throughout the year. And they're in a different 90-degree position, the Big Dipper is, depending on what time of year it is. If you did a time lapse and showed the Big Dipper in the four seasons, it with the pole star at the middle, it actually kind of makes a swastika shape. Which, despite Adolf Hitler's best attempts, the swastika existed for thousands of years before him and usually meant 4 directions or a sun representation, if it was clockwise. It also sometimes meant a hammer, like a spinning hammer of Thor, too. That's another video. There's a book, too. I'll put it in the description because I can't recall the exact name right off the top of my head. There's a book about basically the swastika going from a blessing to a curse because of Adolf Hitler. So I'll put that in the description. But yeah, it makes that shape in the sky. It goes counterclockwise. And I was sitting there last night, just staring at it, trying to envision the Dipper as anything other than the Big Dipper. And I know it's also a part of Ursa Major. It's a part of the Great Bear, which I've never personally seen. Even though I could see that whole constellation, I never saw it as a bear. Some people see it as a blade or an axe. Some people see it as a plow. I was out there with my drum last night, drumming. And this new rhythm started to come in, so I'm playing this new rhythm and I'm watching it. I'm doing my thing. And as I'm drumming, it's a frame drum, it's a hand drum, I start to sort of swaying. I start rotating real slow counterclockwise, almost like a Sufi. I've got my drum out, I'm drumming with it, I'm rotating. I do that for, I don't know, however long I did it. I actually don't know how long I was out there drumming. But had this new rhythm, this new power song coming in. And when I finally had anchored it and remembered it, had anchored it into my memory, I stopped drumming. And right as I stopped drumming, I looked up at the Dipper to see from the handle to the North Star, the shooting star shoot right across it. That was pretty cool. During the drumming, like my thoughts, my meditation was just all about the Dipper too. Trying to figure out what it could be. I'm turning off my brain and just giving that problem to my subconscious and sort of trancing out drumming there. I think the Dipper, because of how it rotates, both Dippers really, but the big one especially because it's sort of more central in its rotation, I think I could see it as a great bird. Like a circling bird, like a hawk or a vulture or anything that would circle, which would make the North Star either its nest or its egg. I don't know yet. That's just what's come through right here in the last few days. Cassiopeia, almost as an afterthought last night, could either, because Cassiopeia is always opposite the Big Dipper. Like if my necklace is the pole star, the Dipper and Cassiopeia are always rotating opposite around it. Cassiopeia, because of its shape, could be a hill range and a mountain range, or it could almost just be the image of a few birds in flight, just if you just drew the bare outline of wings. So it could be that the Dippers and Cassiopeia and the 3 or 4 constellations that circle the pole star year round are just various birds that are circling something. I also had the briefest idea that I didn't really explore last night, that because the pole star is so central in the sky and all these other archetypes and shamanic archetypes are circling around it, it's the possibility that the pole star is the light at the end of a cosmic shamanic tunnel. And that maybe all of this reality is just some other realm, some other world to another world. and shamans would journey here to experience this weird, freaky mutant monkey land. I don't know. I don't know. I've got a ton of rambling notes about it I need to sort through and figure out. I got pretty bad handwriting to start with, and so then I was trying to get a lot of information down, and I had a recorder going talking out loud. But that's the takeaway from it. That's the Orion is a very powerful bear shaman. The Dippers and Cassiopeia, all the rotating year-round constellations, are different forms of birds. And the pole star is either a nest, an egg, and or the opening to a cosmic shamanic tunnel. Intergalactic shamanism.